Hi, this is Shawn Parker with Fill in the Blank podcast. Our guest today is someone that we have known for quite a while. His name is Luis Gil. Luis is a person that came to the United States many years ago from the country of Venezuela. And he has an amazing, unique story to tell about what it's like to be an immigrant at a young age, to come to a country that has lots of opportunity from what was the wealthiest, most prestigious country in Latin America. Today, Venezuela is no longer prestigious. It is no longer wealthy. It is still in Latin America, but it is being run by the communists. And Luis has helped a number of people immigrating to the United States. He has helped a number of people who are here to find success in the American dream. And he has a unique perspective on the downfall of Venezuela and the correlation to America today and the way that Venezuela had gone down the tubes. And he's really hoping to make sure that America doesn't make the same mistakes, even though we may be on the same pathway. So, Luis, welcome to our podcast, and we want you to help us fill in the blank that we're missing about America today. So, tell us a little bit about you, how you got here, and then we'll get into the parallels that you're seeing with Venezuela from 20 years ago to where America is today.
Thank you, Sean, for amazing moment here, and thank you for allowing me to speak a little bit of what's on my mind. I try to do it in an innocent way, in a perspective that God has given me an opportunity to be in this great country, and this and when I see things that they are culture shock into what I used to be and what it is, and to have this opportunity to flourish and assimilate, the history, assimilate the politics, assimilate the way of life. It is amazing why this country is the dream and the heaven of every immigrant that wants to come to this country. If I may, one of the things that impacted me when I arrived to this country back in close to 30 years ago, it was the fact that in Venezuela, to go from one state to another state within the country, you always have to stop and see the National Guard and see the army, to a checkpoint, and those checkpoints, they were checking to make sure that you were Venezuelan, make sure, you were not carrying things that were illegal, you were not doing things that they were not according to the law. And that was a checkpoint, and people got used to it. Just a way of life. Every day you go, you wanted to travel, and that's what you got to do. So
it was normalized.
It was normalized.
Okay.
You see things, and you see, and you obey.
Mm-hmm.
You were dealing with the law, but there was not a police. It was just the army and the National Guard. So when I came the first time, one of the things that I got caught, I said, I didn't see a machine gun for years. I didn't see any of that stuff that would surprise me very almost every day, because I was traveling to state, and it was just like taking the highway, and there was nothing to stop me. And those are the things that I caught early on. I said, well, where's the army here? I never seen it. I didn't see a fort. I didn't see where they were staged. I didn't see any of the stuff. So I wasn't sure if that army that that people talk about it, how it was so powerful, where was it? I didn't see any of the stuff. So
do you think that, one of the things that we hear about is the militarization of the police. That's coming from the left. It's coming from the BLM folks. Is that something that you're seeing in terms of where America's headed, is that we're actually going to militarize our police force? Or do you think that this is actually a step toward away from freedom, and trying to understand a little bit about what you saw in Venezuela back then, and how we may be on that same path, or is it a different path? What's your thoughts?
I'm hoping and praying that that'll not occur, because I want to tell you something that perhaps it's a little side note. When we were young, we used to be on the street with our friends and stuff like that. But the kids that they were 18 and older, from 18 to 25, they have to be always be on the guard because any evening the army will come and will sweep you away and recruit you to be part of the army. I mean, you had no choice.
We called that impressment back in, we had the War of 1812 because the British military, their Navy, impressed our soldiers that way.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that actually happened in Venezuela.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, every day. Every evening, if you were 18 or 25, you have to be careful. The army would show up in different angles of the street. So you wouldn't be able to run.
I did
And
not
they
know.
would recruit you.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh,
that's
yeah. And
unreal.
once you were recruited and they knew who you are, first thing they did, you knew that if you were caught, it's because your head was shaved off. So,
Okay.
so the next day, if we saw our friends, oh, they caught you last night, but that was, even though it was funny at the time because we were so innocent, so young, it was a way of the military enforcing in you, even though we were a democracy.
Mm-hmm.
They were a way to say you had no choice, but if you're on the street, you go into the army. No choice. So that was the sign up. But, militarizing the police is something that I see that, third world countries do all the time to maintain balance, to maintain, stability. And we don't need this here. I mean, we have freedom. We have a constitution that will protect us, supposedly. But we're trying to change that in a way, I have to say the leftists, they want to change that because, one of the things that it was amazing, Shawn, is that when I arrived to this country about 30 years ago, Ronald Reagan was the president.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned conservatism. I learned the freedom. I learned so many good things from Ronald Reagan that stayed on my mind, and that's how the seed was planted. See, this is why I always believe, we need to plant the seed so in that way it will flourish. So I flourish under that,
Yes. Yeah, and America under Reagan, we did very well. I mean, I think that most people looking back grade him as a very, very effective president, a very, very effective political leader and unifier. America really came together well under Reagan.
Yeah.
But we had a reason that was needed. Let's talk a little bit about the influences on Venezuela. Was it the Russians, the Cubans? Who was the people that got Chavez? And forgive my language, but the Partido Socialista Unido de Venezuela, the Socialist Party.
Yeah.
Who was it that was behind that movement? And today, who is behind that movement?
I believe it started with Cuba, Fidel. Fidel wanted to get Venezuela because of the oil. Cuba had nothing. So they wanted to infiltrate Venezuela for many years, since 1959. We had a dictator back then, which is kept an eye on Cuba. And he told her, you put one finger or one soldier here, we will come and sink your island. I mean, that was the way that person, and it was a dictator. That's a very, very unfortunate thing.
Mm-hmm.
But to today's day, that dictator is famous because he loved Venezuela. He did the things that he needed to be done, but it was to keep the socialists and the Cubans away from Venezuela. So Chavez comes in with ideas of Cuba and making friends of Fidel, and immediately, closing the conversation with the United States, and that was it. And the promise that Chavez used, it was that he was going to give the oil. It was from Venezuela for Venezuelans, and everything was, we needed to have our hands. Everyone wanted to have their hands on the oil, and he promised, I will give you oil to everyone. Well, people bought it, and here we are.
How much oil did Venezuela have, or does Venezuela have?
Well,
in the world then, and how much oil is there today? Do you think?
I give you that a recent study that was done. I just read on the internet, and the article was that because of the technology and the electric cars and so on, that Venezuela could be stuck without oil on the ground, one of the largest equity asset in the world. And according to them, I heard from Ohio State 10, 15 years ago, that was almost Venezuela can supply oil to the world for 20 years. This guy actually said it was 8.5 years. Can you imagine supplying, if the oil would end today in the world, Venezuela alone can supply oil to the world for 8.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money power. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of energy power, mm-hmm. and a lot of political power. So that makes sense that a country like Cuba would have an interest in having a relationship in their own hemisphere with a country with that level of resources. So who else is there today? Tell us about, I've heard that the Chinese are there.
Yes.
I have heard that there are Russians
Yes.
in Venezuela trying to influence, Cubans in Venezuela trying to influence. Why are those groups there? Who else is there that we should be concerned about operating in our hemisphere of the world and what their interests are?
Well, very unfortunately, during the Obama administration, Venezuela flourished as a dictatorship. The Cubans came in early on as doctors,
Okay.
So they came out of the skies, there were, how many thousands of doctors. And the things that they were trying to do, they turned to infiltrate spies. Today, as we speak, you and me, Shawn, Maduro, dictator, I can't call him president, is surrounded by Cubans because he doesn't trust the Venezuelan army himself. He doesn't trust his general. He doesn't trust anybody that had to do anything. So he's being protected by Cubans right now. So the Cuba, during Chavez's administration of power, Venezuelans built the most technological refinery of oil in this hemisphere by Venezuelan money. Cuba has it. That's what Cuba wanted. So guess what? They used to get the free oil from Venezuela and sell it to the market. What a way to make a profit, that's socialist for you, Get the free things and sell it,
It worked for Jed Clampett in the Beverly Hillbillies. What they call it, Texas tea.
Yeah, there we go. So that's how oil, and of course at that point, Cuba didn't have to depend on Russia. So once the Russians find out how much oil and stuff like that, the only problem for Russia is that in China it's very expensive to transport, the oil from here to them. So so it's very costly. But guess what? They got their hands on that. So one of the things that the Russians say, instead of us taking the oil, let's take the gold. There's airplanes almost weekly going out of Venezuela with the gold to Russian banks,
So there's also deep gold reserves in
deep,
Venezuela as well, which is the core commodity that most currencies are actually operating on with the World Bank.
Venezuela is very, very unique because Shawn is gold, aluminum, water. I mean, the seventh biggest river in the world is in Venezuela. So Amazon is right there. So all those natural resources is impacted. That impact the world. They're there. So that's why we have right now China. Because we have the Caribbean Sea where you can fish. It's a natural, amazing complex that you can fish and it never ends. So the Chinese are there with their ship. The Russians are there to dig into the mines. And apparently, I heard through the grapevine that actual Taliban's militias are there in an island, ready on the backyard of the United States.
So there's a rumor that the Taliban is in Venezuela.
Yes.
With the purpose of?
Well, who knows? To be a call. It's like a call in 911.
Wow.
I mean, and not only that, Shawn, the reason we see the evidence, because mosques are being built to help them. So you can't hide the mosques.
So Venezuela, a traditionally Catholic country then, with lots of Christian influence, Judeo-Christian. There are mosques in Venezuela under a socialist or a communist regime.
Yes.
So that's not an accidental thing. I mean, communism they don't like religion as a rule.
Yeah.
So, and Venezuela is how far from the border of America by plane?
By plane, Miami, 2.5 hours, 3 hours.
2.5 hours.
3 hours, yeah.
We have that sitting off of our coast. That's frightening.
Yeah, it is. It should be. I mean, and not only that, this, the things that to have that in the backyard with that much resource. I mean, feeding himself is like having alligators and snakes with full of fish in the water. It's just the combination. Those ingredients are so prime to have to disrupt the world, the economy, and especially the United States, because this is the world economy.
Look, these people don't like the United States.
Yeah.
They're not our friends. Then they are literally putting up operations that close, being supported by people who don't like us. Let's shift around just a little bit. Let's talk about Obama. Let's talk about his successor, Donald Trump, and let's talk about the present situation with the Biden administration. So a lot of this stuff was tolerated under the Obama administration or supported. Tell us about, let's talk about Obama, then let's talk about how Trump dealt with Venezuela, and then let's talk about Biden, where he is today, and his, he's midway through his first year. He's approaching the end of his first year. So let's start with Obama. I mean, how was the relationship with the United States interest in Venezuela?
Well, Obama didn't do anything. That's the whole thing.
Okay.
He turned his back, he closed his eyes. But what you saw, Shawn, is that somehow Obama wanted to be, for what I saw on the news and what I read, he wanted to have kosher with Fidel, with the Castros. Raul Castro and Fidel was still alive back then.
Yeah, very much. He opened up Cuba for the most part to a lot of Cuban American exiles were very upset with that. So.
Well, and for him to visit and go to a baseball game with the Castros and kosher with that was looking to us for Venezuelans, the ones that have exited.
Wait! I missed that. Obama went to a baseball game with the Castros?
Yeah, with the Castros.
How did I didn't realize. I missed that.
They went to a baseball game.
So these guys are hanging out eating hot dogs and
popcorn and
seventh inning stretch and all the great traditions. Obama and the Castro brothers.
That's right.
Okay, I guess one got by me.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, wow.
If that tells you what kind of relationship they had, well, everything else is open to
interpretation. Fill in the blank, guys. Fill in the blank, right?
And we saw the sad part that in Central America and in South America, we saw that and go, we're in bad shape because we see that as a threat. I mean, Cuba is the cancer of this hemisphere for socialism and communism.
Yeah.
So when we saw that, there was not very much. Maduro knew that with Obama he can just do whatever he wanted, and he did. So he got stronger. He was able to ship billions of dollars for the oil revenues, and through all that, he was able to dash his bank accounts, his cronies. Everything was done with free. Venezuela was trying to leave the country because the food supply, the electricity, the water, and all the stuff that was failing, people saw that what's coming is not good. So people were trying to be proactive throughout that process when they see Obama being okay with Fidel's, So that was pretty sad at that point. Very, very fortunate. Trump comes in. Trump is a person that, if I can give you a little bit of history, Trump was a person that loved Central America. He especially loved Venezuela because of the pageant, Miss Universe. And he used to be the owner.
Yes.
And Venezuela has the most Miss Universe representative that won the crown. Okay. So we have, I don't know how many, if I tell you a number, maybe I exaggerate, but we have 7. Okay. So guess what they tell you that? The Venezuelan women are beautiful, intelligent, amazing people. And that's what we were known, other than the oil,
Plus, you guys are like way out there at the end of the alphabet. So when they're introducing the people, everybody's waiting for the V to come up, right? Venezuela. Yeah. So they got to watch 25 commercials.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Before they get to this Venezuela.
And only that, if we didn't get number 1, we got number 2, many of them. Number 3, we So that was the thing. So Trump, getting to know Venezuela, and because of that, he became, and I'm not saying that was it. He just, because Trump, we believe that he was very good with the Hispanic community.
Okay.
So through all that, when Venezuela goes through that process, that he hears, and he put a price on Maduro. $50 million he got caught. He would pay somebody $50 million.
Okay.
Oh, that was big news in Venezuela. So not only that, we didn't care about the price.
So it's $50 million if someone brought Maduro to justice?
To justice, yep.
Okay. And that was sanctioned by the United States, or that was just a rumor that was
No. That was actually put on the embassies of Venezuela because, they wanted people to know that, hey, Maduro has a price on his head. We're done. I mean, basically, Trump told Venezuelans, we're done with him.
Okay.
There's no more talking. Enough is enough. So we loved that approach. We thought that we knew that Trump was firm on what he believed and he told us to Venezuela. That's why I would say 95% of Venezuelans love Trump. And there's a million of them in Florida. So he had an amazing welcome with us on his final days. But what I want to get back is that we knew that Trump would do what he said he would do. The only thing that we knew that he was handicapped with all the investigations and all this stuff. I mean, we knew that. I got invited Trump to to Florida a couple times to talk to the Almagro, which is the director of American States.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Organization of American States. Sure.
Which is he was in front of Venezuela. I mean, the guy, he wanted to do everything he can, but he's a politics.
Mm-hmm.
When Almagro knew that Trump won, he felt a lot better because he was able to engage more directly with Venezuela. He was able to knew that he will get the support of the president of the United States. So and not only that, he didn't put the price on Maduro's head. He put a price on 32 between generals and officers of Venezuela.
Okay.
So we saw that the hope there, and we were praying that Trump will get a second term. We thought that Trump will bring Venezuela to freedom one more time.
Now, there's, under the Trump administration, a fellow by the name of Juan Guaido.
Guaido, yes.
Okay, I might not be saying that right,
yes,
but
that's okay.
But he running? He was elected as an interim president of the opposition party. Tell us a little bit about him, and is he in exile? What's that relative situation?
Well, thanks to the United States and not so much from the Trump administration, but Trump put it up there on the top of the ticket for Venezuelans. He represented basically the Venezuelans that are against the administration Maduro dictatorship.
Okay.
Trump elevated him to the point that in one of his events on the State of the Union, he brought Guaido to the world. I mean, that was never done before. That was something that we love the fact because it gave us hope. It gave us a dream that Venezuela could be free someday. Mm-hmm. And Guaido, yes, is the one. I mean, I had to tell you the story then and the story now. Guaido was something that through my news in Ohio Latino TV, I always said, everything looks good, except that his heart is sincere. And their
heart is insincere?
Sincere.
Oh, his heart is sincere.
Is sincere, yeah. So, we're hoping for that. Well, we've found between now, between then, some kind of corruption because of the money that Trump gave to Guaido through the petroleums of Venezuela. There is a company here that with the billions of dollars that Trump put and froze, and he was able to give Guaido to function as a president, interim president, a lot of millions of dollars.
Okay.
And very unfortunately, there's questions there. You know how it is when there's billions of dollars in your bank.
Well, I really don't know how that is.
I
wish I could tell you I did. I don't have billions.
I know.
But I can imagine for a few minutes.
Oh yeah. Can you only imagine?
Okay.
Well, it used to bring you forward, really fast. 2 weeks ago, Guaido and not him, but his representative, met with representative for Maduro in Mexico City.
Okay.
And you know what I see, Shawn, in my innocent point of view. I mean, I'm not a guy that went to, I didn't go into military school. I didn't go into politics, stuff like that. But I know what's right and what's wrong. Mm-hmm. And why would you sit at the table with the devil? Why do you sit at the table with a guy that had created so much harm to Venezuelans? Those are the things that break my heart because what is he trying to gain? He's trying to gain things for himself. He's trying to be a politics. So the things that he promised a lot of things. And one of the things he promised, free election. Well, that free election that he promised, it was not on the discussion 2 weeks ago in Mexico City. So
let's talk about free elections down there. And maybe you don't know this, but if a person wants to vote in Venezuela, what's the process? How do you show up at a poll and legitimately cast a ballot?
Yeah, well, we have what is called a board of election.
Okay.
It's nationwide, primarily because the states are too small.
Okay.
Remember, there's only 30 million Venezuelans in Venezuela.
Okay.
Well, that's what the last census, but almost 7 to 8 million have left. Almost 10% of the population. 20%, sorry. 20% of the population.
20% of the Venezuela population is living abroad.
Living abroad, all over the world. Venezuelans have walked from Venezuela to Mexico, to Argentina. Walk through the Andes. You know how cold it is. I mean, it's very far.
They're doing anything they can
to
like the Cubans. I mean, they get on rafts made of inner tubes.
Yeah.
and hope that they can traverse a 100-mile sea, and that the current's running the right way, so they can possibly get to the Florida Keys or somewhere else, and we find them often floating dead on their rafts.
Yeah, and the sharks, all the stuff that that's, I believe, is number one on their mind.
Imagine what goes through. It's like the people climbing onto the planes in Afghanistan and trying to get into the wheel wells. Hoping just to live.
When you see that, I feel bad for the United States, because it's a country that I love, and then people trying to desperately get into somewhere where you see the strongest military in the world, and within seconds, things don't look that way.
Yeah.
And very unfortunately, and then here we're bringing, thousands of immigrants that, they have the freedom to come. But there's no plan. I mean, I don't see a plan when I see those pictures on TV.
Yeah.
And then we see Mr. Biden.
Yeah, let's talk about Biden a little bit.
Yeah.
So Biden, Venezuela relationship, is his administration on track to help preserve democracy, peace, and freedom, or?
We don't see that. As a matter of fact, Maduro has asked Biden for help. Biden have practically denied in a way, but one of the things that Biden has done that I believe Trump left field, which is called the PTS, protection, temporary protection, TPS, for Venezuelans, unique Venezuelans. I mean, this, if you apply, you get here, and you're in the United States soil, you can apply for TPS, and your 99% will get approved for temporary protection.
How long is that for? So you come from Venezuela, however you get here, and you produce, I suppose, a Venezuelan ID card.
Yep.
And you say, I'm asking for asylum in the United States. Then the U.S. says,
yes.
What happens after that?
Well, I mean, there's two ways: asylum and the TPS.
Okay.
The TPS, the asylum has a path to citizenship.
Okay.
The TPS does not.
Okay.
So TPS is a temporary that is through the power of the president, and then it can end any time.
And TPS stands for?
Temporary Protection Services.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at any time they could say, we need you to go back.
Yeah.
We're not happy with TPS status anymore.
We're done. Yeah. And done, and we don't know the ramifications of that. But remember, the Salvadorans and Nicaraguans had that for almost 20 years.
Okay.
So it gets renewed by presidents,
So the Venezuelans in the United States are all here legally.
Yes, practically.
Okay.
Yes. As long as their story match, especially with asylum,
Sure.
And the TPS practically gave us a bridge to be legal. Yes. Majority. The only thing is with the Biden administration, I believe that now Somalia, Haiti are part of that path of TPS, temporary protection. So if you get here, then you got that, I mean, you don't have to prove anything other than you were born in that country.
Okay. Yeah, and those are two. Hopefully we'll do shows on Somali.
Yeah. Yes.
Somalia, because we have a large Somalia population here.
Yeah.
And looking at some of the other countries, I mean, as we do geopolitical analysis and talk about state of the world, and why America is the place that everyone wants to come to.
It's a house light. It's a heaven. Remember, a lot of those people see the United States for the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I want to go there. That's one of the things that I early on. That's how I saw. So
when they get here, though, are they disillusioned, or do they see America as a good place to be?
No. We see America as a great place. We see the very unfortunate thing that I see as an immigrant, Shawn, is that we do not assimilate the language, the history, the sacrifices, everything that meant why America is what it is 250 years later, over 250 years later. Do we have another 250 years? If we need to start planting the seed in places where everyone sees what happened. If we don't know the history, we're going to tend to repeat it again.
Yeah.
And very unfortunately, so as an immigrant, I want to, as a Latino community, to help out, is to teach them, hey, what happened back then 250 years ago, how we can preserve so we can have another 250 years. It is so easy here in a way that you can come, establish a organization, pay the taxes, make money, and all that stuff. And if we do that, if we, Sean, we got to get together as a one country. We got to call each other Americans. We got to be in one tent. We got to start that somewhere, because right now we are more divided than ever. We are more disillusioned within ourselves and what's happening in the world. But immigrants don't do that. All we do is, especially Latino community, we like to work hard. We're family people. Religion is, we are united in our religion. So we will become a force sometime, someday. And we need to be part of that force in a way to protect this country and preserve it.
Do you see the immigrants as being, we have populations that we call them hyphenated Americans. They never lose the identity of being something else. Do you see the Venezuelan population as remaining as Venezuelan Americans, or do you see them coming into the melting pot of America and retaining some cultural aspects and having some of the great Venezuelan unique foods that you have? Or do you see them as staying off in their own and not coming into the fold of general America?
No, the majority of Venezuelans that I know, they love this country. They want to do whatever it takes to respect, to abide the law, to become a productive citizen of this country. The majority, we want to do that. The only thing is the lack of information that they have to. You have to search on your own. They can't depend on school. I mean, we see what school's happening. So all those kids are coming in. They're not learning really, basically, what we knew of the United States. They're learning another phase. I give you one example, Sean, and I don't know if this means anything, but when I came to this country the first time, I didn't know what race was. I didn't know what racism was. I didn't know the definition, because we have black people in Venezuela and we saw them the same. So I practiced that, and I saw that very sad handicap, for the United States, and every country has a past. I don't know how far you want to go back. So when will be the day that we can pass the page? We can be united again. We can be one country, everybody will be American, and we can go against those countries that do not wish us well.
Yeah.
Now we have Taliban. I don't see them as a very friendly people. China, Russia. I mean, there are so many forces that they wish that the United States would sink. And if the United States sink, that would be the end of the world, in my opinion.
Well, if we sink, they lose the largest consumer marketplace that any of them have. They also would lose the ability to have free trade, which would take us back to the 1880s when everybody was fighting everybody. Thanks to Bretton Woods, thanks to the United States Navy, the entire world is its own marketplace. And that's one of the strengths, one of the greatest gifts we have given to the world population as Americans.
And to correct something, Sean, every culture wants, to the United States to flourish, because they want the families to flourish. For the families to flourish, everything around their community has to flourish. So it's a little domino effect, and I know a lot of cultures that they want to do that. I mean, even not so only the Venezuelans, but the Colombians, the Mexicans. They want, there's so many things that the magic of the economy is there to preserve, because it's a selfish preservation. It's because it's my economy, but it's everybody's economy.
So talking about the economy, as we move into a more socialist type of country, the number of government workers versus private workers has shifted dramatically in the past 20 years as a relationship, which makes us a much more European-looking type of socialism. How do the Venezuelans feel about that being here? Do they like that? Do they want to depend on the government, or are they more entrepreneurial and want to create their own pathway?
We don't understand when the government wants to print money and send us a check. We welcome the check. Everybody welcomes the check.
Sure.
But we don't understand how they happen, because a lot of Venezuelans have been here for the last 5 years as the arrival. But when we see the government being so kind, and we go, oh, okay, that's how my government was back then. It didn't work, So we're worried that eventually this little, small I want to call it small in a sense of the grandiose lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
I say I'd rather not get that check, but have preserved future.
Yes.
So here we are. There's a price to pay when you get something free.
Yeah.
Eventually.
There's no such thing as free in the world.
Yes.
I mean, love is free, but sometimes that even has a price with it, I suppose.
I agree. So, so we Venezuelans, I mean, one of the things I want to say, Venezuelans, almost 75% are come with a degree, college degree. Because, back then, college was free. But right now, there's no lights, so you can't go to college. There's no books. You can't buy anything.
So there's no... So Venezuela, you've banned books in Venezuela?
Well, I mean they are, but how do you afford some things when back then 30 years ago the average wage was $2,500 and now it's $4. I said today.
A month?
A month.
Average wage in Venezuela
is $4.
A month.
A month.
A month.
A month.
30 days.
This is
all a person gets $4.
Yes. Thank you to the socialist and communist ideas. That's how we went backwards within 20 years.
$4.
$4.
Okay. And 20 years ago, it was $2,500.
$2,500, yeah.
So 20 years ago, I mean, that was probably the average wage in the United States.
Probably. Oh, yeah, that's why Venezuela didn't migrate.
Yeah.
We didn't go. We were happy.
There was nothing better here for you.
We were content. 80 degrees yearly average temperature. Mm-hmm. And the beach, Caribbean Sea, one of the most beautiful. Why would you leave paradise?
Yeah,
and the price of the gasoline was probably $1 a gallon or 99 cents. Never went up because we are producers of oil.
There's a story out there about the Caracas Zoo.
Oh yes,
I mean,
very
is that true?
It is true. Very sad. There was no food. So
there was no food in Venezuela.
Yeah.
In Caracas.
The
big. How many people are in Caracas? What's that?
I would say,
people?
Yeah, I would say, no more than 5 million.
Okay, and the food supply dried up, and they say they ate the animals. They slaughtered them and ate the animals.
That's correct.
Okay, so I don't think there's a whole lot to like about communism in Venezuela.
No, that we don't think it's working. I mean, we know that we would like to have different, but let me tell you this. This is my conclusion. I don't go to school. I just simply see, read, and form an opinion. The reason the preservation of Maduro and his dictatorship in Venezuela is because Second Amendment. We had no guns.
No guns.
No, we got rocks and sticks, and we are fighting against tanks and machine guns.
So effectively, there was no way for a person to defend their right to property, their right to their home, their right to their life.
Yeah.
Those things were taken off the table, and one day someone decided that you're going to be on a pathway to making $4 a month, and feel lucky that you're getting $4.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's still a lot of money. The money is only held by, the people that are in favor of the dictatorship. The army is well fed, and the people, individuals are left on their own.
Wow.
And the crime is rampant. In Caracas, there's gangs that are in charge, and the government supports them because they keep the people in check.
Okay.
It is just so much, it's like an octopus. So many arms trying to keep the honest Venezuelans and the people that really want to have a good life and a good future. I believe it's for the time being is gone.
Do you see a relationship, or do you see America moving in that direction? Do you feel that, or do you sense it, or do you see things that are actually happening that parallel that?
We're in a slippery slope.
Okay.
I don't know if I can say, but when I went last year in grade to this country, that gave me the opportunity to be part of this political arena. Only in the United States can happen as I lived it. But when you see things, when you talk to people, and you see the Democrats agreeing that social is okay, I have a problem with that because I lived it. I saw it. I have testimonies. I got pictures. I got people that are desperate. We are, right now, I know a lot of families that somehow are working so hard here to send food to their families in Venezuela because it's nothing. There are people that are eating one meal a day.
So part of the money they make, or a good part of it, they're actually sending
money.
money
and clothing,
and packages of clothing and
packages,
food
yeah.
back to their
Yeah.
families.
Yeah, back to the families. And they're sending, dry goods because so they can make it, through the 30 days, through shipping, through the ocean. And, by plane is too expensive.
Do the people actually get it, or do the people?
They
in
get
the
it.
They do get it.
They
The
do
government
get
lets
it.
them have it. Okay.
Well, it is good for the government. It say, we don't have to worry about feeding them.
Okay.
They're getting the food.
So
I mean, so convenient. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But it costing people here to work so hard to send because they're buying the products here.
what do people send? I mean, what if a care package goes out? What's in the care package
Shawn,
roughly?
as I can tell, Tylenol. I mean, food, dry goods. Like beans.
They're shipping beans. A can
They
of
ship-
beans at
can of
Kroger
beans.
is
Yeah.
39 cents,
Yes.
59 cents.
Yeah.
It's not $1
Yeah,
for
yeah,
a lot of the beans. And it's they're literally shipping beans
Yes.
to.
Yes.
Okay.
Shipping whatever they can ship for them to eat.
What's interesting is throughout history, we know that happened in Cuba
Mm-hmm.
in the 1950s and 60s and
Mhm.
all the way up to today. The
Mhm.
people that went to Cuba before Trump closed it back off that I talked to told similar stories about the people of Cuba not having anything.
Mhm.
And the hotels had enough for the tourists, but even that wasn't that great.
Mm-hmm.
The stories of China. My father was in China, Second World War, same stories. Okay. Now they weren't fully communist at that point. I've heard people in Vietnam. There's a fellow, one of the guys in the Hanoi Hilton told stories about how impoverished
Mm-hmm.
that Vietnam was once the communists took over. Common theme, common story. There's nothing here to make it any different, but yet we have a lot of people in the United States who are thinking that that's a better way to go because one size fits all,
Mm-hmm.
and we evenly distribute things. But it hasn't worked anywhere that I can find. I'm
No.
looking. If anyone wants to email us in and let us know, please do, because we'd love nothing more than to have a story
Mm-hmm.
about the success of socialism, communism in
Mhm.
particular, so that we can share that. So
Well, it's just to give you a little piece in a way that we can talk about again or invite Colombians. Right now, Colombia will have an election, and one of the guys' his favor, it used to be a FARC. With the FARC is the guerrillas,
okay.
and he's gonna be perhaps the next president of Colombia. How good is that?
Where's the United States on that? What is our position with?
The United States has been very supportive of Colombia.
I mean, we worked hard to get the cocaine
Yes.
trade
Yeah.
under control.
Yeah.
Colombia worked hard with us to
Yeah,
make that
yeah.
happen.
But it has not worked. I mean, here we are facing this most democracy hiccup
Mhm.
in a short time, and also because of Cuba infiltration. This is all it is. So, and I want to give you that footnote in there. So.
Interesting. No, that's a good footnote. We're going to go ahead, I think, and wrap up. We've been on for a little bit. Our guest is Luis Gil. Luis is a reporter in the Midwest, talks about some political issues, talks about things that are relevant to the people of the Midwest and the United States. But most importantly, he is a very proud American. He is a very proud person of the world, and he also hurts and loves the people of Venezuela. So, Luis, thank you.
Thank you, Shawn.
We will talk more because I'd like to get you back with us for another show to talk about Hispanic issues in general. I think you can bring us a lot of information, but thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Shawn, for the opportunity, and it's a pleasure, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you. Take care. Hey, thanks for giving us your time to listen. You've been listening to Fill in the Blank with Shawn Parker, where we talk about the issues of politics and the geopolitical marketplace, as well as economics. If you like our channel, please subscribe to us at Fill in the Blank on YouTube, and be sure to listen every week as we come back to you with some of the most thought-provoking people of the day. And learning is always the key to what we're trying to do.